My all-time favourite Christmas film is the 90s version of Miracle on 34th Street, and I'm always keen to watch any other versions that I hadn't seen. I've seen a couple others, and then I realised there was one from 1959, which is an hour-long version. And of course, I had to watch it, and I'm pleased to say it was very good. This is directed by William Corrigan. The screenplay is by George Seaton, and we have Ed Wynn as Kris Kringle. And we also have Susan Gordon as Susan Walker. And if you're unfamiliar with the story, somebody who looks a lot like Santa Claus gets the job of the Macy's department store Santa Claus. And he has some very different ways of doing things compared to their usual Santa Clauses. And he meets a little girl called Susan, whose mother happens to work for Macy's and was in charge of helping hire the Santa Claus. And Susan begins to believe that Kris is the real Santa Claus. But even though Kris says he's the real Santa Claus, nobody else believes him. Well, that's not true. Some people do. But he has to try and prove that he is the real Santa Claus. And the narrative is beautifully handled. The story is beautifully told. Ed Wynn is brilliant as Santa Claus. I think he did a really great job with the character. I really liked Susan Gordon as Susan as well. And nothing will ever beat the 90s version. It is my all-time favourite Christmas film. It's probably one of my all-time favourite films, actually. So I never expected this to be quite as good, but I have to say there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It did a really good job with the stories, and the courtroom scenes in particular, they're my favourites, or some of my favourite scenes in the film, in any version of the film, and there's no exception to that here as well. It's a gorgeous story about belief and also about imagination, and I think it handled everything really well. If you're already familiar with the story and you like it, I'd say definitely check out Miracle on 34th Street, the 1959 version. Absolutely no issues with it whatsoever. It's a very sweet, heartwarming story with some really great performances. It's not the first one I'd recommend, obviously. The first one I'd recommend is the 90s version with Attenborough and Mara Wilson. But once you've seen that one, definitely check out this one. Really thoroughly enjoyed it. I think I've seen them all now. I could be wrong, but I think I've seen it. I also feel like we're due another version. We're in the age where we're remaking a lot of 90s films, and I think enough time has passed that I'm surprised they haven't made that one again. Don't know if I want them to. If they did, I'd see it. I'd definitely watch it. But it would take, well, I was going to say it would take a lot to beat the 90s version, but nothing ever will. But either way, whether you've seen that one or you're just interested in this one, the 1959 Miracle on 34th Street is a lovely film. It handles the narrative really well, and I'm very happy to recommend it.